Validating user input in programming. Validating user input in programming is essential to ensure that the data provided by the user meets certain criteria or constraints. By validating input, you can prevent errors, handle unexpected data, and enhance the overall reliability and security of your program. The validation process typically involves checking the user input against predefined rules or conditions before using it in the program. Here are some common techniques to validate user input in programming. First, data type validation. Ensure that the user provides data in the correct format or data type. For example, if you expect an integer input, check if the user input can be converted into an integer. Second, range validation. Verify that the user input falls within an acceptable range of values. For example, if you expect the user to enter an age between 1 and 100, check if the input is within this range. Third, length validation. Check if the length of the input meets certain requirements. For instance, if you expect a username to be between 4 and 20 characters long, ensure the input adheres to the constraint. Fourth, pattern matching. Use regular expressions to validate user input against specific patterns. This is useful for validating formats like email addresses, phone numbers, or postal codes. Fifth, handling empty input. Check if the user has provided input and handle cases where the input is empty or contains only white space characters. Sixth, error handling and exception handling. Implement appropriate error handling mechanisms, catch and handle errors that may occur during the validation process. Use exceptions to gracefully handle unexpected input. Seventh, prompting for correction. If the user input is invalid, prompt the user to re-enter the data with a clear error message explaining the issue. Eighth, user-friendly interfaces. Design user interfaces that guide users in providing correct input and offer and helpful hints or tooltips for expected formats. Remember that user input can be unpredictable, so it's essential to validate and handle it with care to avoid bugs, data corruption, or security risks. Depending on the programming language or framework you are using, there may be specific libraries or functions that can assist with input validation. Always follow best practices and consider the specific requirements of your program when implementing user input validation.